from the campus of Bowling Green State University.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Jake Elston, and thanks for joining us. Today is October 13th. The rec center on campus is expanding to allow more students. Julia Maas has more.
The BGSU Student Rec Center has expanded its operations and is moving into Phase 2. This includes the reopening of the locker rooms, the basketball courts, the rock wall, as well as the pool and hot tub. It also allows more people into the general weight training area. BG24 has spoken to Student Supervisor of Customer Service, Zachary Gaskins, about expansions of recreation operations.
The BGSU Recreation and Wellness all kind of decided to move into phases while reopening. We reopened July 20th, I believe it was, so we were all excited to get back, but obviously in today's world you gotta be a lot safer than we were. So the newest thing we've opened up is the basketball courts that we're standing on right now. The way we're operating those is where we have a sign-up sheet that the students can use to sign up and reserve a court. Right now we're operating at just 2 students per court and per hoop, and they just can rent out a basketball or bring their own.
BG24 News has spoken to 2 freshmen about their thoughts on the court's reopening.
It's nice that it's opening up, and you can get that true college experience that I wanted.
I feel like it's just kind of like returning more so to like normalcy and how it used to be.
As far as we're looking out, we are just kind of moving at this pace, kind of see what we're working with best. Hoping to move up to other phases later and just kind of keep doing what we're doing, making sure we're keeping the students safe and everybody safe as well. So,
reporting for BG24 News, I'm Julia Maas.
In downtown, Marianne Vanderbeke is finding out how bars are keeping busy during the pandemic.
College students and bars have gone hand in hand as long as there has been learning. Ancient Greece generally combined both drinking and the intentional discussion of the important ideas of the day in gatherings called symposiums. Today's college pub crawls may not look the same, but they serve a purpose to both the students participating and the communities serving them. COVID-19 has had an effect on both of those demographics this year. The Ohio Restaurant Association released a poll stating 54% of their business members felt they were concerned they may not survive the year. Madison Bressler, a senior communication major who hopes to work in the music industry upon graduation, has experience with both demographics through her job as a bartender at Howard's.
And it's been really hard on not just the employees, but on our boss too. He did have to close for like a week, and it was the week before classes started because we didn't see much of a crowd out on the street, and then once we saw students coming back, we reopened. So I think a lot of people were a little leery, not knowing what safety would be like and how each of the businesses are taking the new regulations, if they're serious about it, if they're cleaning things like they're supposed to. And I think financially it's really been rough for us, difficult for us, but maintaining the mask mandate anytime you're up out of your seat, you got to put the mask back on. If you're walking to the bathroom, walking to the smoking patio, mask always on.
Though this year has been challenging, Bressler has seen positivity as well and has hope for the future. From downtown BG, this is Marianne Vanderbeke.
BGSU has a new spirit coordinator. Macey Austin tells us more about who he is.
The new BGSU Spirit Coordinator, Christian Viez, was selected last spring. Weeks later, students and staff were sent home due to COVID.
Most people joke about the first year being the hardest, and I'm like, yeah, this was definitely a test.
Viez started out his college cheerleading career at Shelton Community College, earning 2 UCA national championships. Later transferring to Morehead State, earning 2 more national titles. For the past 9 years, Viez has been involved with the Universal Cheerleaders Association.
UCA really helped me develop into more of a personality and engage more of a cheer brain.
The Dean of Students, Christopher Mullins, says Viez's involvement with UCA was impressive during the hiring process, not to mention his own college cheer success and experience in coaching cheer at Cincinnati.
His experience with cheerleading, not only did he have a background himself as an athlete, but he also had an extensive amount of coaching through UCA and Cincinnati.
The Spirit program keeps alive traditions that BG is known for.
I made it very clear that there's traditions here that I'm not here to touch, I'm not here to change, things that are the core values of the program.
A Spirit coordinator that is not a BG alumni made some of the athletes skeptical.
Before we knew the candidates, obviously there was a concern of the candidates not being from BGSU. We have a long history of candidates coming from BGSU and already knowing our traditions.
When Vias was looking at the job, he was excited that it was not just a head coaching position, but a spirit coordinator.
I had a long-term plan, and I knew eventually I'd want to be a spirit coordinator somewhere because I love the whole aspect of that. And this just kind of helped, I don't want to say skip a step, but almost jumpstart.
During his hiring process, there was an interview led by some of the athletes.
It was really important for myself and for the team to get to know him as a coach, but more importantly, to get to know him as a person.
It made me feel better coming in knowing administration didn't say, hey, here's your new coach, and they'd want somebody different.
Shortly after Vias got the job, all the university students and staff were sent home due to COVID.
I had tryouts coming up, the MAC tournament, everything.
After missing all of summer training, Mullins and Vias worked together to create a COVID protocol for the athletes when they returned in the fall. At BGSU, cheer and dance are not under athletics, so Vias looked across the country to see what other cheer programs were doing and mixed it together with the plans that BG Athletics has. Reporting for BG24 News, I'm Macey Austin.
And speaking of getting in the spirit, Halloween is just 2 weeks away. Ryan Luchene reports on how you can trick-or-treat during a pandemic.
This is what Halloween looks like for kids a year ago. Now this is what to expect from costumes this year. Due to social distancing guidelines to combat the current pandemic, the Ohio Department of Health released an update on how to safely celebrate the time we wear our favorite costumes. Other than the recommendation of events like haunted houses to be canceled, the Department of Health recommends low-risk and socially distanced ways to celebrate, like holding a drive-through trick-or-treat event. Other rules include wearing a cloth mask instead of a costume mask, as those are less effective, unless, of course, they are made of a couple of layers of breathable fabric. Some families are feeling the effects of the current changes.
I mean, I think it would be easier for me to encourage them to keep their distance as opposed to wear the mask the whole time.
However, people are finding their own ways to making Halloween fun while social distancing.
To give it a try, this seemed like it.
Andrew Beatty, an avid Halloween fan from Cincinnati, created a way to hand out candy to trick-or-treaters in a socially distanced way, the candy shoot.
A few weeks back, it just kind of clicked, instead of toys, how about we use this for candy? And it scratches the itch on a lot of the challenges we talked about earlier, whether it's running up and down the steps or, people with mobility issues not having to do that.
He puts the shipping tube up, puts candy through the top hole, and candy slides down to the waiting trick-or-treaters' bucket or bags.
I encourage people to really look at the big picture. Yes, you want to stay safe, but you also, part of staying safe means that you're still out there living to the degree that you can and doing it as safely as possible. So just get creative.
For BG24 News, this is Ryan Luchene.
A little more like Leatherfaces from the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. So different tips.
And in sports, baseball practices are underway. Again, Macey Austin with the story.
From a season cut short to the baseball program being cut and brought back weeks later, BG Baseball has been through a lot this year. The changes continue with Kyle Halleck as the new head coach, making him the youngest coach in college baseball. Last spring, the team played just 13 games before the rest of the season was canceled due to COVID.
When we first found out our season got cut, we were on the bus heading to northern Alabama, and we kind of had word that the Big Ten got cut, and then kind of just we figure oh, it's coming, it's trickling down to us. So then that got cut, we got sent home. I said wait a couple months till they figure it out.
Later, the Falcons found out that the baseball program was being cut.
So then we had the Zoom meeting, and we just had heard that they were going to make some type of budget cuts. We didn't know what, and we come to find out it was us, and it was just absolutely heartbreaking.
And initially, it was just about making sure our players were going to get put in the right spot for their next baseball venture.
I was actually one of the guys when the program got cut. I committed elsewhere. I was going to go play at Grand Valley State University.
The week after the announcement, the athletes and coaches cleaned out the locker room.
There were about 30 or 40 alumni there, physically in person, as we cleaned out the locker room and got that. And there were some whispers of, hey, we're working on something.
In just 18 days, the alumni brought back the program, raising $1.5 million.
Having the chance to play again wearing orange and brown is just an incredible feeling and something I'll never forget. And just undescribable.
Coach of 30 years, Danny Schmitz, was moved to a job working with alumni.
Coach Schmitz is the connection to, to some of these guys that are legends and were former big leaguers. And
Halleck has established a new mentality for the Falcons.
Everything we do now, it's in a unison. So prior to that, it was kind of, we'd be on the same page, but it would just be different levels. And I feel like now with Coach Halleck, since we're all together, we all take those steps together.
Halleck is a Kent State alum. In 2011, he won All-American and MAC Pitcher of the Year. His team won 4 MAC championships. In 2011, he was drafted by the Houston Astros in the 10th round. He played 59 games as a pro. In 2014, he was released and began his coaching career. Reporting for BG24 News, I'm Macey Austin.
And that will do it for BG24 News. For more, follow us on BG24 on Twitter, and for more content on bgfalconmedia.com. We'll see you next week.